What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the data points, break down on what really moved in, go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound did close in the green, 3.22%, 1548 the low, 1708 the high, and pretty good volume. So 57 million shares being traded, 51.8 is the average. As far as macro data points, we didn't really have all that much that did come out today. A couple of Fed speakers, and a lot of their hot topics were stagflation, just the tariffs, data in general, but nothing that really impacted the broader market. Early on in the morning, we did have BoA mentioning that for the September meeting, we might actually see a 50 basis point cut. And this is exactly what the market does truly want. It wants a 75 basis point cut between both the September and October meetings. So potentially that could be a huge catalyst for the broader market. And it's one thing just openly just talking, but whether the market actually believes it or not, that's a whole nother kind of topic. And turns out the market actually does believe it. Right now, there's a 95.9% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut and a 4.1% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut. And we have a lot of other big data that's coming up in the next couple of trading days, such as PPI tomorrow. Then we also do have retail sales and Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday. So potentially that could even further validate a 50 basis point cut. So that would be huge for the broader market. And of course, times of cuts. So whenever there's rate cuts, that usually does mean that companies and individuals will go out and obtain more loans, and the economy in theory will expand. So when SoundHound's customers are expanding, that is going to result in more and more revenue. So pretty good stuff as far as that. So nice circle of life. And then we did have the Feds pretty much reconfirming that inflation is kind of where they want it. So meaning that there is going to be a cut, most likely. So again, that's why we did have a nice push near the end of the day. As far as SoundHound, there wasn't any news from it today. There was a SEC form that was submitted early this morning, 13G, which did signal Bank of America made a brand new position with 23.4 million shares. So that's pretty epic if you ask me. Aside from that though, shorts did return. So now this is the second consecutive day of shorts returning. So shorts returned 297,000 shares. So not all that much, but still at least it's progress in the right direction. But 31.5% of the free flow is being shorted, works out to be 115 million shares overall being shorted. So like I've stated in the past, for it to be this heavily shorted and it actually hold like the $15-16 range is rather impressive. You can only imagine how high SoundHound would be if it didn't have this level of suppression. So pretty good stuff. Moving over to the options, 16 million in calls, 3.02 in puts, and 44% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. So big money is anticipating SoundHound to kind of go down a little bit more. Aside from that, from a bull standpoint, there's a consensus for it to be kind of roughly around that $16 to $17 range by the end of this week. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub roughly $15. So there's a little bit more downside based on everything. But again, I think SoundHound's gone up quite a lot in the short term. So there are some individuals just assuming that it's going to go down, maybe. Options, of course, represent that. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So SoundHound did have a nice push higher, and then it had this $6.97 million transaction. That's what killed the momentum, unfortunately. Darkpool, very active stuff. After hours, just had a nice big $2.3 million transaction. And these are all the transactions that did occur. So there's a lot of big money getting in. And I'd rather see this than algorithmic trading any day. So definitely good to see. With it closing at 1650, it is trading between this R3 and this R2. 1516 is going to be a strong support, and then 1671 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. Did break above that when it started to spike. Unfortunately, didn't really have enough to kind of stay there, unfortunately. But aside from that, there wasn't any new analyst ratings that did come out today. A lot of bullish ones over the last couple trading days, so 17, 16, and 18. But still, as a consensus, 1529 is that price target, representing a 7.33% downside. No articles really coming out associated to SoundHound worthwhile to bring up. A lot of them are just honestly just copy and paste type of stuff, so nothing crazy. They're just talking on technicals and whatever else, but good to see nonetheless. Bank of America and most likely more institutions really loading the boat. So one thing actually I'll pop over there, since most of the 13Fs have come in, looks like basically quarter over quarter, institutions did go up by 43.82%. Strategic entities did go down. Other, aka retail, also did go up. So I know a lot of institutions strive for more and more institutional ownership. So this is honestly a good kind of scenario. So 46.1% of the overall float is held by institutions. Aside from all of that though, on the actual chart, things are looking pretty a-okay. So still above the ALMA, so shows that it wants to continue to move on higher above all the key pivotal moving averages. Stochastic RSI though, as I've mentioned, if it was to get roughly around that $16 range, it was going to be considered overbought. So that's kind of how it's playing out right now. So nothing really crazy and something to panic over, but that does mean that the first sign of weakness, you could see a bit of a pullback. So again, that's kind of something just to keep in mind, and refer back to a lot of the support levels that I did mention on the fib levels, if you're looking at averaging down or day trading or whatever else. But nonetheless, pretty good stuff, I think, for SoundHound. If there is that, let's say 50 basis point cut, or even let alone a 25 and then 50 for the October one, that still would be huge for the broader market. Very good for SoundHound, its customers, and growth stocks in general. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What's your viewpoint on now shorts returning for 2 consecutive days? Do you think that this is the start of something bigger, or do you think this is just more of a one-off? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. And as I've signaled, if you want all this information to be free, sign up, link in the description below, and also the comments for analyst ratings, ownership, everything under the sun that I like to use in my videos. It's all free stuff on IBKR. So link in the description below for you to get that for free. So with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.